go ahead and add the peppercorns. And I love peppercorn. Fresh black pepper, delicious. Okay, next to this, we're going to add the 3 cups of turnips. And I just dice those. And then the 1 head of cabbage. Now, bear in mind, cabbage will cook down a lot. So you really have to start it off in a big pot, and then it will just keep cooking down and cooking down and cooking down. And oh, silly me. This is what happens when I get to talking. Making sure I didn't throw all 4 pieces of the core in. And it looks like I did not. So then I've got these apples, and I'm not going to worry about peeling them. I did wash them. Always wash your produce. I'm going to cut these, and I just cut them right around the center. And I go back. Now these are kind of some not so happy looking apples, but this is what's perfect to use them in. Because this is a story about farming pigs, keeping everything really nice and rustic, I think is an awesome way to make this soup. And then I want to show you, when you slice your apple, you can see the little 5-pointed star in there. And what I often do is when I do this, I'll go in and slice, get at least 5 decent slices of this, and I go and I throw them around my yard, and 1 in the middle for protection. 1 for each of the corners. And then for spirit. So I'm invoking elements and directions. And where I work, we really have to make sure that we don't have bad looking things out. And so my boss was like, oh, take home the bananas if they're spotted. I make banana bread out of that. And these apples were definitely going past the prime. This one had a nice soft spot on it that I cut off. And this is a very thin-walled pot. Now, I thought I would make mention of something. There's an old wives' tale about bay leaves being poisonous, and they're not poisonous. You can't put something in there and steam it and get the essence of it into your food if it was going to kill you, because if you ate it, because the oils and the liquid coming out of it would do the exact same thing. So now we're going to add the apple. The danger of the bay leaf really is if somebody were to choke on it, because it, even though it can get nice and soft, it still could be a choking hazard. This is the safety tip I wanted to show you. I love these big plastic cutting boards. I also have my wooden ones, but when I'm doing something like the cabbage, which takes up there's a lot of volume to it, I love this. And my safety tip on that, to keep it from sliding everywhere, I just have some, this is rubber shelving. Stuff that you put on your shelves, you know, so you set your glasses on it and stuff like that. And it keeps your cutting board from slipping when there's liquid gets under it, or just if it tends to slide anyway. And I just keep it on an an old paper towel tube, and it's quick and easy to wash. You can put it in the dishwasher, and to keep it sanitary. So that's the safety tip for this. Now I wanted to go over on the herbs, the things that are going into this soup. For protection, there is anise, the peppercorn, basil, rosemary, sage, and bay. For sleep, and because again, this is the intention on this is to lessen something with keeping in tune with the moon. For sleep, or in my case, tiredness, because I do get up at 2:30 in the morning, and I'm not a long sleeper. I never have been. If I go to bed at 8:30 or 8, I am awake at 12:30, and it's not always easy for me to get right back to sleep when I wake up. And I try to, so that I have enough energy throughout the day. Anyway, for sleep, or the lack thereof, to lessen the effects of tiredness, I guess is what I'm going for on this, is rosemary and thyme. For mental and psychic abilities, you've got bay and thyme, and also sage, which is normally for wisdom. And to be quite honest, I tend to put my foot in my mouth a lot without meaning to, and I'm also misunderstood quite often when I say something. And it's not that I don't explain myself, it's just kind of the dynamics of the people in my life. I mean, most of them have known me for 40 years, and you know, I'm 43, and so it's just one of those things where years of things and all of that water that should be under the bridge doesn't always stay there, doesn't always flow on under for everybody. So since sage is for wisdom, I'm going to lessen the foot and mouth aspects of my life. And also lessen the tiny little mistakes. It seems like the last few days at work, if I could splash it, splatter it, or spray it all over something, I have done so. And so that lack of grace, I want to get rid of. And it's not that I'm clumsy, it's just I think it's partly feeling a little tired and wearied, and so my mental being in the now isn't as much, and so I'm going to invoke that in the sage for lessening that. For healing, particularly, there is thyme, and it's cold and flu season, so I want to keep those at bay, especially since I work with the public and deal with their spills and their plates of food and things like that. Now, courage is also something that thyme deals with, but I want to lessen timidity in my life. There are times where, I'm just going to stir this a minute, there are times where I don't speak my mind, and I probably should, or, you know, I'm intending on that, on lessening the stupidity with the sage, making sure that even though I'm not as timid, I also don't want to come across as too brass and bold and quite honestly sometimes flamboyant, especially with holidays coming up and family time. And then also there's wealth, which is something that basil helps with. And so again, in keeping with going with the opposites, because I'm lessening things, I'm going to invoke keeping lack at bay, so that I maintain my abundance, which, trust me, has been wonderful. It's amazing what happens when you get into the flow with the spirit and the universe, and it's just an amazing, amazing thing. And you just quit worrying about things. Worry to me is a form of faith. It's a faith that the bad things are going to happen to you. And so, a lot of that I have overcome already in my life, and they're not issues anymore. Mainly keeping a positive attitude, but excuse me. Anyway, so the I just, as far as the wealth goes, I want to get rid of that lack. Well, actually, yes, a little bit, because we're going into that in the northern hemisphere. We're going into the winter, which is generally considered a time of famine and lack. Also, got the holidays coming up, and I plan on sharing how to make almost everything that I'm making for my Yule table with y'all, but that costs a lot of money, and I still have bills to pay and huge student loans to pay off. So anyway, after this is kind of simmered a little bit, I'm going to add about 5 cups of water. Now, that is not going to cover it. I can always go back and add more later. Bear in mind, the cabbage is going to release a lot of water as it cooks. And so you just kind of have to keep an eye on it. You can adjust how much you add to it based on whether you want more of a stew or a soup. And then to this, I'm now going to add the rest of those herbs and spices, everything except the bay leaf and the peppercorns. And I'm going to go ahead and add that. And at the end of this, I will season with salt and white pepper. And I use white pepper. It's just basically what they taught us. It's the classic pepper seasoning at the end. They say season to taste. Generally, they're referring to white pepper. It's different. It's the inside part of the peppercorn, but it has a different flavor because they remove the black part, and so it removes that flavor from it. It's not a spiciness. It's, well, if you really want to try, you can just wet your finger, stick some on it, and put it back on your tongue. Have water available. It blooms in your mouth, or actually as it cooks and heats. So it becomes more and more potent. And I have no idea how many times I've sprinkled some in and without thinking, go to wipe my eye, and then it's like my eye is on fire. So anyway, we're going to let this cook and simmer till it's nice and done. It doesn't take that long, but I think with most soups and stews, if you let them really cook together and mellow their flavors and meld, you get a wonderful, wonderful soup that way. And I will show you the finished product when that's all done. In the meantime, I've got to clean up the few dishes that I've dirtied, and enjoy. Alright, so my soup is done. It's been on for about 45 minutes, at which point I'll pull one out. The turnips are fork tender, which means they're cooked all the way. And everything is kind of mellowed together a little bit after about that much time. As you can see, the liquid did not cover the cabbage at the time, and I did end up adding about 1.5 cups during the cooking process, but I would say about half of that's come out of the cabbage. So anyway, I'm going to dish this up, and I'm already in my comfy clothes for the night. I'm watching the BBC Sherlock, and not just because the actor that plays well, I will not get into that. But anyway, I'm looking forward to a nice, enjoyable